3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the place you're not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS is number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike, got Stuart Kovacs rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Blake Corum, the Michigan legendary running back who's now off to the NFL. He's going to stop by 20 minutes from now as Jim Harbaugh is off to the NFL as well, landing in L.A. with the Los Angeles Chargers. And Shawne Merriman is going to stop by, the legendary former San Diego Charger, now pulling for the Los Angeles Chargers, at the top of the hour. We had a good show dinner last night at Wolfgang's, and while we were just eating a disgusting amount of delicious steak, I guess that's the best way to put it, Stu, who's always alert, he has these alerts and these notifications, and I guess they're specifically set to Adam Schefter. And as I am eating a porterhouse steak and trying to just get as much of my plate possible, as we were like a bunch of just hungry animals when they threw that steak down in front of the three gentlemen that we were dining with, being myself, being Samter, and being Stu. Stu just blurts out, Jim Harbaugh's off to the NFL. Jim Harbaugh is going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Stu is also very savvy on social media, and we call him the Swiftie of this show as well. I also got a text right after dinner that our video with Drew Tranquil yesterday from our interview was making the rounds in the Swiftie world last night, especially on the good old TikTok, because Drew Tranquil came on this show yesterday, and he said, I kind of think that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are maybe in love, and then we were talking about wedding bells and how that would basically be our version here in the U.S. of the royal wedding if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were to go all the way. No, not all the way like the way that you guys are probably thinking listening to this show. I mean all the way to getting married and all that jazz. So Stu, maybe our social media consultant now on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We may add some responsibilities to his title on this show because he was giving us all the information last night as we were going viral, and then also the big news that Jim Harbaugh is landing with the Chargers. No one should be surprised that Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan. Before the last 3 years, Jim Harbaugh, he was good at Michigan. He wasn't great. And he had 3 10-win seasons prior to the last 3 years, but the big flaw was he never beat Ohio State. And not only that, he also didn't have a Big Ten championship. And his back was right into the corner. He was backed right into a corner. And a lot of people thought he was going to get fired. Heck, they reduced his salary. And hungry dogs run faster. That's what you kind of learned from Jim Harbaugh. Because it was back-to-back-to-back years where they defeated Ohio State. It was 3 consecutive seasons that they won the Big Ten championship. And after 2 of those years, there were flirtations with the NFL. And he wanted to go to the NFL, but the NFL at the time didn't want him, even with his success in San Francisco of going in 4 years to 3 NFC title games and a Super Bowl. And ultimately, he did win a national championship. And with the pending nonsense from the NCAA, with all these allegations, and you have the hamburger, and then the illegal time that some of his coaches had access to players during COVID, and then the Stallions nonsense as well. Like, it doesn't take a brainiac to figure this out, that there will be some sort of punitive action that will be handed down to Jim Harbaugh or to Michigan. And when you win a national championship at your alma mater, you restore Michigan to a great football program and the kings of college football, job is done. And not only is the job done, the job is done very well. And I got to just think of this from a human standpoint as well, because Harbaugh didn't have to leave Michigan, but now he reached the top of the mountain in college football. And when you look at the NFL in his 4-year span of being a NFL head coach, he was pretty much as close as you could get to the top of the mountain without getting to the top of the mountain with those 3 NFC title game appearances and then losing that Super Bowl to his brother. And if you don't think losing that Super Bowl to his brother doesn't drive him, well, then you're out of your mind. Like, obviously, he loves his brother. That's his brother. They have a tight bond. They have a great relationship. But from a human standpoint, you lose a Super Bowl to your brother and you go to Michigan when things end with the 49ers and you ultimately win a championship. There's only one thing left to do in what has been a legendary coaching career for Jim Harbaugh. And that's to go win it all in the NFL. So when you evaluate the Chargers side of this, the Chargers had to do this. The Chargers couldn't run the risk of getting a coach in there that has never been a head coach before, because they tried that with Brandon Staley, and it was an absolute disaster. Bad end to the season up against the Raiders. We know the choke job in the playoff game when they finally get to the playoffs, where they blew a 27-point lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then this year, there's a lot of words that you could describe it, a lot of words that would probably get me fired. So I'll just call it an unmitigated disaster in LA for Brandon Staley. So you couldn't run the risk of getting the next hotshot coordinator and just hoping that that coach was going to thrive, that that coach was going to have success. There were 4 enormous established names on the market: Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick. One of those 4 guys had to be your next head coach. And when you do the mix of the best of both worlds, a great coach, a coach that's had success in the NFL, and also a coach that isn't in his 70s, so it's not a 3 or 4 year job at max, and this guy could be your next head coach if he has success for the next decade if he wants, Jim Harbaugh was the best candidate. So I give credit to the Chargers, who I also think got sensitive to the criticism, because they were looked at as a cheap franchise. They were looked at as a franchise that was going to cut corners, and they were going to ruin Justin Herbert. And now they say, not so fast, and they go get Jim Harbaugh, who you could argue was the hottest name on the market. So you get Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh is brought in to get the best out of Justin Herbert, and not only get the best out of Justin Herbert, but go toe-to-toe, get into the ring, get into the octagon, and try to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. Because you look at the last great NFL dynasty, and the Chiefs have to win another Super Bowl to become a dynasty. The Patriots were so much better than everybody else, and their division just projectile vomited all over the place when you look at the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins when it came to selecting who would be their next coach and who would be their next quarterback. Now you look inside the AFC West, Andy Reid, we don't know when he's going to hang it up, but you have Mahomes there, who's the best quarterback in the sport. Everyone's hunting them. But the other 3 teams in the AFC West, the Broncos, they have a good coach in Sean Payton, right? Could be a Hall of Famer, but they don't have a quarterback. The Raiders, I like what we saw in a small sample size from Antonio Pierce, but right now they don't have a quarterback. The Chargers right now have a great head coach and a quarterback that has a ceiling of being a great QB in this league. That combination is going to be the best what the AFC West has to offer in terms of trying to stop or trying to contain or trying to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. That is an elite pairing of Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. And there's work to do in Los Angeles. The Chargers right now are in salary cap hell, but there's a lot of teams that are in salary cap hell and they figure it out. You have an aging Keenan Allen. You know, Mike Williams can't stay healthy. Quentin Johnson had an up and down rookie year. You have some big names on the defensive side of the ball, but a defense that has not played well and a defense that can't stay healthy. But I really can't stress enough the importance of bringing in an adult into that locker room. Brandon Staley was not ready to be an NFL head coach. Brandon Staley the last 3 years was the punchline to a lot of jokes. And the players knew it. Like, I've talked to a lot of Chargers players throughout the years, and they've never said anything negative on the record about Brandon Staley, but you could just hear in their answers that they didn't even believe, when you heard the tone of their answers, that Brandon Staley was going to get this right or Brandon Staley was going to be a good coach. Because it was obvious, and you didn't need a PhD in football to recognize that Brandon Staley just wasn't cut out to be an NFL head coach the last few years. He wasn't ready for the opportunity. Now you bring in a guy that comes from a great football family, knows how to win over a locker room, has a vision, and not only has a vision, he's won in some capacity everywhere he has gone. And not only that, the Chargers have been second fiddle in LA, right? They brought the Rams over. The Rams have been in LA before. You bring the Chargers over from San Diego to LA, and the LA Chargers haven't really had a fan base out there. But now you bring in a big-time coach, and it's the start of actually starting to act like you are a big-time team in the NFL. And the Chargers need that culture shift. The Chargers need that change. And Jim Harbaugh is a winner. So I love this hire. This hire you get 2 thumbs up, right? It's an A+. This is the best hire of the hiring cycle, and there's still a few jobs that we don't even know who they're going to go to. But the Chargers needed to ace this. The Chargers needed to hire Jim Harbaugh. And now they have their guy. And it's just a sensational move. And is there going to be some bad moments? Yeah, I bet you they will be. But we also saw him take over a San Francisco 49ers team that wasn't good. And right away, it was 3 straight NFC title games and a Super Bowl appearance. So he knows what it takes to win in college. He knows what it takes to win in the NFL. And not only that, we now live in a world where it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and everybody else. And we're looking to see who could take that Superman cape away for a short amount of time. And really, there's only been 2 people that have been able to do it. Number 1 was Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was bigger than Superman. So he didn't even need the cape. He could fly without the cape. When Tom Brady defeated Patrick Mahomes his first year as a starter in the AFC title game, and then also in a Super Bowl when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then you've seen Joe Burrow take the Superman cape for a year. But after that, there's been a lot of challengers. Josh Allen has been a challenger, hasn't succeeded. Lamar Jackson gets his opportunity this weekend. Maybe after this weekend, if the Chiefs win, you'll see a Jared Goff or a Brock Purdy get their chance. But Kansas City, because of who their quarterback is now in a mode of it's Super Bowl or bust every single year. Because that's how outstanding their quarterback is in Patrick Mahomes. And I know that we usually get obsessed with all the other teams in the AFC and the other contenders in the NFC. But let's start in their division. Let's see who could even take the AFC West crown away from the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, with a lot of work to do and a lot of changes that will be needed to be made on the roster, the Chargers are in the best position to do that because the 2 most important things in this league and the 2 most talked about things in this league are quarterback and head coach. I know Justin Herbert can be elite in this league. I know Jim Harbaugh is elite in the NFL and has been elite in the NFL and elite everywhere he has gone. And they have a leg up now because they have clarity at their coach and their quarterback. The Raiders don't have clarity at their quarterback. The Broncos don't have clarity at their quarterback. So this move is great not only for Los Angeles, but it's great for NFL fans because now let's see if Harbaugh and Herbert could do what they're capable of. They will be a legitimate contender. I'm not even saying in year 1, but a legitimate contender for the foreseeable future in trying to just simply slow down the Kansas City Chiefs brewing dynasty. And that is of the utmost importance as an NFL fan. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I will ask you this. What are the year 1 expectations for Jim Harbaugh in LA? I think the expectations year 1 are to make the playoffs. Like, I know the AFC is crowded. I know there are a plethora of teams in the AFC. But when you have the coach and the quarterback, that duo together, as long as there is good health, you should be able to win 10 games. You should be able to get a 10-7 record and be in the postseason and snatch up one of those wild card spots. That would be my year 1 expectation for the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Make the playoffs. We'll see if they could do that. What are your expectations for Jim Harbaugh in year 1? How do you react to the Chargers hiring their new head coach? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll take a timeout. A man that knows Jim Harbaugh very well is the legendary Michigan running back, one of their greatest players ever, Blake Corum, who just won a national championship in his final season at Michigan. He's getting ready for the NFL draft. Blake Corum will join us next in 5 minutes right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone, all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. You can check out our poll question today, and you can find that at Zach Gelb at CBS Sports Radio. And the poll question simply reads this: when we take a look at the future of some coaches and some teams that have not made any changes this offseason, which team is making the biggest mistake in keeping their current head coach? Cowboys keeping Mike McCarthy, Eagles keeping Nick Sirianni, the Bears keeping Matt Eberflus, and the Jets keeping Robert Saleh. So far, the early returns, 15.7% say the Jets keeping Saleh, 18.3% say the Eagles keeping Nick Sirianni, 29.9% say the Cowboys keeping Mike McCarthy, and then 36% in first place go with the Bears keeping Matt Eberflus. The Eberflus one, to me, and we'll get into this a little bit later, it is interesting because Eberflus did well enough down the stretch to show that he belongs in the NFL. I'm not saying that there's still a belief and you have conviction that he's going to be a successful head coach in the NFL, but the Bears were a positive story down the stretch. However, when it appears that the Bears are most likely, in all likelihood, going to trade Justin Fields and they're going to draft Caleb Williams, it does feel as if they should reset. And I would also have to imagine with the immediacy of the Chargers landing Jim Harbaugh, that there's probably a lot of Bears fans, especially since Harbaugh did play for the Bears, that sit back and go, well, why didn't we go after the biggest and the best name potentially on the market in Jim Harbaugh and let him go to the LA Chargers? Now, there's a lot there with the Bears. I don't know if that was a Ryan Poles decision or not, but Kevin Warren is the former commissioner of the Big Ten, and reportedly, let's just say there were some icy stares and not that great of a relationship reportedly between Jim Harbaugh and Kevin Warren, so maybe that did preclude the Bears from going after him. But whether it's McKay with the Falcons, who reportedly doesn't want Bill Belichick, or Warren, who doesn't want Jim Harbaugh, like if I'm the owner of the team in Atlanta or Chicago, I know you have a president in place. I know you have someone, McKay, that's been in Arthur Blank's ear for so many years. And when it comes to the Bears, they just brought in Kevin Warren. I don't know if I'm trusting Warren and McKay when you have a coach who's of so much importance, like a Belichick that could land in Atlanta, or like Jim Harbaugh, who could have landed in Chicago. I'm not letting those two guys prevent, me from hiring a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Belichick. Like, those two guys can't be the reason. But, there's powerful people in sports, and sometimes because of previous relationships or previous thoughts or dealings with someone, that could prevent the hire of Jim Harbaugh is now off to the Chargers, what could have happened in Chicago, or Belichick, as that's losing steam in Atlanta. So we'll get back to that poll question later. Blake Corum's workout's going a little bit long. He's training for the NFL draft, so he'll join us at some point before we do get off the air. So we will get Blake Corum on this show before we say goodbye at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Shawne Merriman's going to join us, the former Chargers linebacker, at 4 p.m. Eastern. Let me do this. When we get into Dave Canales, the new hire for the Carolina Panthers, I actually think, and I'm not someone that always praises, I know I just praised Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. That's an obvious one. I'm not always someone that praises a new coaching hire, especially when the hire is just like a okay reaction. But you look at the circumstance in Carolina. The circumstance in Carolina was that they were working with so many potential roadblocks, and they were almost making a search that had like bumpers up if you were bowling. And they were trying to make a safe place, and they were trying to make that job appear a little bit better than what it was. But people in the NFL, they talk. And the NFL circle is extremely tight. And right now, there's probably not an owner in the NFL that has a worse reputation with Daniel Snyder now out than David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers. And just how toxic that work environment has been. and how you hire football people and you don't let the football people do their job and you can't get out of the way because David Tepper meddles like in every decision. He's a meddling owner. He thinks he's the football guy. He thinks he's the director of player personnel. He thinks he knows what it takes to build a winning football team. And it all kind of came crashing down towards the end of the season when he was in Jacksonville. I think it was in Jacksonville where he threw that drink on the fan. And that just even exacerbated what was a really dreadful, pitiful, and kind of poor narrative and a poor conversation that was building and surrounding with David Tepper. So I do think that there were a lot of big names that were steered away, and there were a lot of big names that were basically told, you don't want to deal with David Tepper. You don't want to go to Carolina. The only way you take that job is if the salary is just so absurd. So I went into this Panthers search expecting the name not to be a household name because you knew Belichick wasn't going there. I guess they canceled this interview on Vrabel, but Vrabel's probably just taken that to try to prop himself up in other places. He wasn't going to be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Pete Carroll wasn't going to Carolina. Jim Harbaugh wasn't going to get along with David Tepper. He wasn't going to Carolina. So outside of those four names, the big four and the core four of Vrabel, Belichick, Carroll, and Harbaugh, the most attractive name was Ben Johnson. And the Panthers last year, they wanted to hire Ben Johnson. They tried to interview Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson eventually took his name out of the running. So when you take your name out of the running and then you're back in the running the next year, and the foregone conclusion is that the Commanders are going to hire Ben Johnson. That's eventually how it's going to go down, and Detroit is still playing. And right now, Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. So if you weren't able to get Ben Johnson, you were going to settle on another coordinator in all likelihood that is not going to be extremely popular and in all likelihood would not have been hired anywhere else. And originally, when I made my predictions, I said Carolina's probably going to hire somebody like a Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins, like a guy that probably wouldn't get a head coaching job anywhere else, but he comes from a respected coaching tree. He's done a good job in Miami, and you're going to try to get him to fix your young quarterback and put your young quarterback in Bryce Young in the best possible environment. Like, that's what they were going to try to do. And then a few days ago, when you find out that they promoted from within and they made Dan Morgan the general manager, the former Panthers linebacker, and then you hear that they're interviewing Dave Canales, and not only interviewing Dave Canales, but they've interviewed him now for the second time, and today you find out that they hire him. I put this out there on social media and even said it on the show. You know, probably Dave Canales is going to be the guy that gets the job because he did a very fine job with Geno Smith in Seattle. He also did a very fine job with Baker Mayfield this year. But with all those things being said, just go look at the resume of Dan Morgan and go look where Dan Morgan in the executive side kind of built his name. That was in Seattle. He comes from the Seattle Seahawks organization where he spent a bunch of years from there. And I know Dan Morgan recently was with the Carolina Panthers, but when you're with the Seahawks, starting as a scout in 2010, and you finish as director of player personnel in 2017, and you had other stops in Buffalo, and obviously he was the AGM in Carolina before becoming the president of football operations and the general manager the other day, you know that there was a previous history with Dan Morgan and also Dave Canales, who was a longtime staff member in Seattle. So that crossover that you had, and Canales probably not getting another head coaching job anywhere else, and him also doing a brilliant job the last 2 years with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, with all the parameters that were in your way and all the roadblocks that were in your way, I actually think Dave Canales is probably the best hire that the Carolina Panthers could have made. And the reason I say that is because you knew Belichick wasn't going there. You knew that Jim Harbaugh wasn't going there. You knew Ben Johnson wasn't going there. You knew Pete Carroll wasn't going there. You knew Mike Vrabel wasn't going there. So you're going to have to settle on a guy that was a little bit more of an unknown, wasn't as popular, has had some experience turning around quarterbacks, and also was an offensive mind that had a previous relationship with your new general manager. And that was the candidate from the get-go. A type of candidate like that with the way that I just described it, who was going to end up getting the Carolina Panthers job because David Tepper's reputation is in such a bad spot. You were not going to go to the prom and go home with the prom queen. You just weren't. You have to settle for, someone that was like fourth or fifth that finished in the voting, or was just a nominee and wasn't even a finalist. That's what the Panthers were going to have to settle. Doesn't mean that hire can't end up being a good one, but the Panthers really couldn't have done anything better than Dave Canales, and you just hope that they're able to fix Bryce Young, but more importantly, you hope that Dan Morgan and Dave Canales can do things the way that they want to do it without the constant meddling that does occur from the owner and David Tepper, the way that he has displayed that with his past two previous hires, and not only Frank Reich, but then also Matt Rule. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a timeout, but first, let's get the latest CBS Sports Radio update with the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. After naming Dan Morgan their new GM earlier in the week, the Panthers now have their coach, reportedly hiring Bucs offensive coordinator Dave Canales to the post. He worked wonders with Baker Mayfield, and now the Panthers are hoping he can get Bryce Young going. Vic Fangio out yesterday as Dolphins defense coordinator, is in Philadelphia today, reportedly taking over the same post with the Eagles. Former LSU receiver Kayshon Boutte has been arrested and accused of underage betting using an alias to allegedly make 8,900 wagers. 17 of those were on college football and 6 on LSU football. There's another coaching change in the NBA. Today, the Wizards have let go Wes Unseld Jr., but he is staying with the organization, moving into the front office after going 7-36. Brian Keefe will coach the team in the interim. The Heat host the Celtics tonight after meeting in the conference finals last year, and the Sixers go for their 7th straight against the Pacers, who are even in Miami in the Eastern Conference. I'm Rich Acker.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
I don't care what signs you had or you didn't have. Michigan showed they didn't need them. So just stop with the commentary. Just stop with the jackassery. Oh, this championship shouldn't count. Everything was even in these last 4 or 5 games, and Michigan still found a way to hoist the national championship trophy. Enough is enough.
Here's Zach Gelb.
This portion of the show is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I was reading that Kayshon Boutte of the Patriots, who used to play at LSU, he was arrested today. He allegedly placed more than 8,900 bets while underage with a fake account. And it was pointed out by Wilson Alexander that some of this occurred during the 2022 season, his last at LSU. Now, like, nothing surprises me anymore when athletes get popped with how easy it is to bet. Like, if you do it in the NFL, I have no sympathy for you. I think you're a moron because there's been enough examples of that now. But I've always looked at the betting space and said that, like, college kids, especially college athletes, are going to bet. It's just going to be, can they hide it? Like, how are they going to get away with it? Because you got to, like, look at a college football roster. There's like 120-something names on that roster. Not everyone is a star. Not everyone is a starter or even a second-string player or third-string player. Like, there's a lot of guys that were good high school players that go to college and they never see the field or they ever get a chance to see the field in college. And when that happens and you're young and you're not mature and it's so easily accessible to you and you have friends that are outside of the football team that are betting on games, you're going to want to get in on the action. So, I don't think any of this is actually surprising. But I will say, 8,900 bets is the surprising part. I like to gamble, don't get me wrong. I like to throw around some anytime touchdown parlays and some money line parlays and, you bet spreads of games and things like that. I enjoy gambling. I enjoy gambling in football season, though. I enjoy betting on the NFL. I enjoy betting on college football. I do not enjoy betting on hockey. I don't do it. I don't enjoy. The only time I bet on hockey is when I go to a hockey game, at most. I don't bet on the NBA because how many times a spread 8.5 and a team's up by 15 the entire game and then free throws at the end or some bull crap at the end where you hit a 3 with no one guarding you ends up making you lose the bet. So really the only sports I bet are college football, the NFL, and the only time I'll bet basketball is in March Madness. So my betting season, the big time action, I don't even throw that much money down. But in relative terms to me, will be from September to about now. Because that's when the football season is. But I can't imagine placing, and I'm assuming this is over a span of a few years, I can't imagine placing 8,900 bets. That's a wild number. That is an enormous, and I mean an enormous number. And I just want to know, to provide maybe a little levity to this story, what was his percentage? How many games did he win? Because if you're betting 8,900 times and you had a good percentage, man, tip of the cap to Kayshon Boutte. But like most people when they gamble, they lose a lot more than what they actually win. I looked at my FanDuel statement, by the way, as they show you your all-time history. I was shocked when I was in the positive. I was in the green. My all-time record on FanDuel, and I've been using FanDuel for the last year and a half, was I was up $300 or something like that. But I was shocked it was that. I thought I was definitely down. I actually had a pretty good season, knock on wood, because there's still 2 weeks left. When it came to picking NFL games, I was a few games over 500, at least on this show. But the anytime touchdowns, even Jody Mack, and when you impress Jody Mack in the gambling world, who used to leave his losing horse tickets all around the studio with his snot rags and all that other stuff too. As Stu just almost spit out his drink when I was saying that. I'm sorry about that, Stu. I think I almost just drowned Stu. I think I almost just killed Stu. I'm glad I just heard Stu laugh and that we understand that Stu is now living. But even Jody Mack, when we do Iron Football together, he was like, Gelby, you're pretty good at those anytime touchdown parlays. You got to send me some of them. So I always love the Mac man, Jody Mack. But I would say he is the I don't want to call him the preeminent gambler here at CBS Sports Radio because that's probably not true, but he's like the gambling Don. When I think of gambling in sports talk radio at CBS Sports Radio, I think of Jody Mack because of how long he's been doing this. And also, when I get to spend some time with him on Ion Football, as he helps me out for the last 2 hours each and every Sunday for the 8-hour studio show, I do appreciate when I know Jody is betting on a game and I get to kind of ride along with him to get his happiness. And he bets on everything, NFL, college, horse racing, and it is fun to see the betting adventures of one Jody McDonald. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's start things off. John in Arkansas, he's first up, wants to talk a little Bill Belichick with the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. John, good afternoon. What's happening?
Yeah, this is John from Arkansas. Buddy, get to the phones already. No one cares about your FanDuel gambling, Zach. This is John from Arkansas.
This sounds like Sully.
This is John from Arkansas.
No, this is Sully. I know that this is Sully. Hello, Sully. How are you?
Buddy, I'm so excited for you to come out here in a couple weeks that we get to hang.
You can't have I could say this on the air, you can't have a masshole call in under John from Arkansas and not think that I don't realize that right away, Sully.
Well, first of all, when I called in, Stamps is like, you show up as John from Arkansas. I'm like, boom, that's who I am tonight. John from Arkansas.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Las Vegas, my friend.
Oh, buddy, I cannot wait to hang, get some good quality ball busting, do some media row networking, take you to my favorite Italian restaurant, called Piero's. It's a old school Vegas staple. Oh, Zach, it's going to be out. I don't want to, pump the tires too much about how outstanding it's going to be, but it's going to be outstanding.
You think Belichick is coaching next year, or the Falcons going to mess this up? Because the Falcons had a 28-3 lead in terms of getting Belichick, and it looks like Dante Hightower just made a big hit, and they may not end up getting Belichick, if you know what I'm saying.
You know what I don't understand is what kind of interview process does Belichick need to go through that he even has to sit down one time?
Well, yeah. Basically, he's more interviewing the organization than the organization is interviewing him. That's what I would say, Sully.
I'm excited to see what the next chapter in New England Patriots folklore comes. I'm bummed that Belichick had to go, but whatever. If you can trade Joe Montana and Emmitt Smith can go play somewhere else, it's I'm very grateful for my 20 years with Bill Belichick, and we're on to Gerard Mayo. Wouldn't that be the sentence? We're on to Gerard Mayo?
Yeah, no, they're definitely on to Mayo. Now they just need a quarterback. And I'm fine with moving on from Bill. As much as obviously I adore and love Bill Belichick with the 6 championships that he's won in New England, I don't think Bill was the right coach to actually rebuild this thing the right way. Now they're picking in at 3 at the draft. Maybe they select Jaden Daniels out of LSU. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player, or as you would say, playa in this draft. But with all that being said, I think they're going to go quarterback. Mayo made that pretty clear.
The way I was trying to get you on the call is because I'm heading to hang out with the Violent Gentlemen guys. They're in Vegas doing an expo, licensing expo, and I only had a certain window, and you were going rambling on about how great your $300 was in your FanDuel account. But the thing that impressed me also with this Booty kid, man, that's a lot of – he had to be – unless he made a lot of NIL money, like whoever was taking those bets was all for, yeah, man, keep gambling. Yeah, keep running it. Keep gambling. We all know, look, I live in Las Vegas. These big buildings aren't from paying out winners. It's from collecting. You guys
absolutely.
pay my taxes when you come into town. Speaking of which, you make sure that you have time, Zach, you, Samsa, the whole crew, that we all get together and eat our faces off at Piero's Italian Cuisine in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. Sully or John in Arkansas, we appreciate the time as always. I love Sully. How many plugs is he going to get in, though? How many people is he going to plug? The Italian restaurant, the VG guys that sent me a very nice sweatshirt as well, which is a great hockey brand. But Sully may have a handler this year at Radio Row, Samter. I think Sully's going to come when people are going to start interviewing him, and he's going to be promoting things with how many names that he just dropped and how many names just fell out of his pocket. And the other thing I'll say, Sully promised that he was going to take me to a Vegas Golden Knights game. They play Tuesday night against the Edmonton Oilers. All I heard was about Italian restaurant. He better not be pushing me off there and blowing me off there for the Edmonton Oilers Vegas Golden Knights game. Now, can I get Samter on camera, by the way? And wait, before you get him on camera, I'm just telling you, if you're listening to this show at youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, I've never seen Michael Samter look this young and this good. Michael Samter did something that is shocking. Absolutely shocking. Please put the camera on Moist Mike. He's clean shaven. You had a big beard. You were like a man's man with that beard. I thought you were like a lumberjacker. And now you are clean shaven. I think, Stu, he looks what? At least 10 to 12 years younger?
I was going to say 15.
You know who he's starting to look like?
Tell me.
The Blues Clues guy. Steve?
You're saying it's because of the shirt. Because I'm wearing a striped shirt. I look like the Blues Clues guy. I don't look like Steve from Blues Clues.
No, but you're looking good. Did you shave yourself? Or did you go somewhere? Because you had a lot of hair.
So this morning, I wish I could have taken a picture, but I was running around so crazy. This morning, I got a haircut. And what the guy did was, he's making the line for your sideburns. So he makes the line for my sideburns, but there's like a good 1.5 inch space between my sideburns and this big, gigantic, bushy beard. Mm-hmm. So I look like one of those guys from like the 1870s in Congress or something who had like, normal hair and then just like weird, bushy beard, but space in between.
Senator Samter.
It looked ridiculous. Yeah, Senator Samter looked awful. My failed bid for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives was not helpful
So
either.
you got a haircut, but you didn't get like a hot towel shave there.
No, because I don't do well with a straight razor shave. I got too sensitive of skin.
Okay.
But then I went home. I trimmed it all off with my electric
tools?
blade. Yeah, and then I did the full on shave. Baby did not recognize me.
No, yeah.
Like,
you
at
look
least-
totally different.
Took her at least 30 seconds to a minute before she's like, Dada?
No, she was like,
She has no
Mama,
idea.
where'd Dad go?
She's like, who's this guy?
Who's
Wait
this
a
new
second.
man? Wow, I'm shocked. You look like a totally different person. It is absolutely crazy. How long do you think it takes to get the beard to grow back?
To the level it just was, or just in general? Like
like halfway.
for halfway, a week and a half.
wow.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I got
That's
Spanish, Greek, Jewish blood all flowing through me and
You
beards
have
flying
Spanish
out.
blood?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Dave in Miami wants to make a point on Harbaugh. Dave, go ahead.
What's going on, Mr. Gelb? I'm the one that posted on your page yesterday about that I watch all three shows.
Oh,
I
I appreciate
thought
that.
you.
Thank you. Yes, always great to have you call.
Mr. Non-committal. So I like the idea of Harbaugh going to the Chargers. Hopefully he can seal a deal this time around. I don't feel bad about Michigan at all because with their one championship, they're going to live with that forever.
Yeah, will last a lifetime.
Yeah, I know. It's like when Philly beat the Yankees. Wow, we're gonna go back to back. Certain teams, they can live that high forever. But Mr. Gelb, thanks for your time. I'll be listening to JR and then Mr. Winkle later on.
You got it,
sir.
Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Philly beat the Rays in the World Series, but then they lost to the New York Yankees. But I get the point in what you're making. And yeah, no one could actually, like, if you're upset with Harbaugh today, it's just because you're losing him and you're upset that he's not going to be your coach next year. I don't think you could actually be angry at Jim Harbaugh. He just won a national championship, and now he's going back to the NFL. So I don't see how a Michigan fan could be like
You
really
could be
upset.
angry.
Why?
I mean, listen, it's nice that he won the title, but you could still be angry.
And now Sherrone Moore's going to come in.
You know what?
He groomed the next guy.
And this team is going to be hit with sanctions, and he's bolting, just like UFC fans were angry at Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
You know what? You cause problems here, and then you bolt and leave us with the baggage? Like, that's kind of screwed up.
No, it's not, because he won a championship. And also, the NCAA is just so petty in this entire thing. And the only reason they're going after Harbaugh, it's not even because of the infractions. It's because he wasn't willing to accept the blame, and they wanted him to bow down and say that he was going. That they wanted him to say that he was lying and all that stuff. It's a bunch of baloney. Jim Harbaugh could do no wrong. He could do no wrong. Shut your mouth. All right, Shawne Merriman joins us next. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Jim Harbaugh, now the new head football coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Also in the last 24 hours, Dave Canales signs on board as the new head football coach of the Carolina Panthers. But let's go out to the guest line right now and welcome in Shawne Merriman, the former legendary Chargers linebacker, all-pro, now a part of Lights Out Extreme Fighting. They have a new big card coming up on Friday, February 16th. Shawne, always kind enough to join us right here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Shawne, my man, how you been? Appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Doing well, man. Just getting through this craziness over here with all this new news. So they're all good.
I'll tell you, like, you usually join us in studio. Today, you're joining us via Zoom. When you come in studio, every time you leave, people around the office go, man, Shawne Merriman still looks like he could play. Like, will you ever be in bad shape? Because you still look like you're in game shape right now.
You know what it is for me, man? It's consistency, right? I mean, I think that most people get up out of bed and they get a coffee and stuff like that. I get out of bed and I go straight to the gym. So I don't know it any other way, and I'm almost terrified to find out if I don't do it, what might happen. So I keep my ass in the gym.
What is your like normal routine workout looking like right now?
Yeah, I still hit the weights, a couple days a week, 3-4 days a week, but also too, obviously being in a fight business and MMA business, I get a chance to spar and train with a lot of the fighters. And to me, I think that more former athletes should pick up some kind of combat sport, right? I'm not saying to go take a fight, but I do think that all athletes should, when they get done, basketball, football, baseball, pick up some form of combat sport, man. It's kept me in shape. It's done wonders for me. And I enjoy it. Sometimes you got to punch people in the face once in a while.
But what do you like when you get in and you start to spar? Like, have you gotten like your ass beat pretty good, or are you usually just destroying people left and right?
No, I depending on who I'm working with, man. I've been in there with some guys that's a couple fights away from welterweight champs. I spar some guys a bit over the top rank. I spar some guys at Randy Couture's gym, Extreme Couture, Black House in LA. I've been all, if you ask a lot of the I guess fighters in different industry, boxers and MMA, they'll tell you that I'll go and I'll spar some guys, but I do it strictly to stay in shape. I am by no means ever trying to get back in there and fight for real, but I do think that it's important to just have some kind of discipline once you get done playing.
Now you're trying to find like the next great fighters. We'll talk about Jim Harbaugh in a second and the Chargers, obviously. Shawne Merriman is here with us. Has there ever been someone that says, I should be a part of lights out extreme fighting, or I should get this fight, and then you say, okay, let's go spar, let's go see what you got, and if I'm impressed with you from there, then we'll give you an opportunity? Does that happen like often with you?
It's a former football player who was thinking about fighting. And he played for the Chargers. I won't throw him under the bus or whatever, but he wanted to fight. And I said, hey, have you ever sparred? He said, no. I said, well, you're not ready to fight yet. So he wanted to spar me. I said, look, go spar somebody else. Go get some real work in and come back. And one day we can spar and let me know if you want to fight after you have some sparring sessions. And I went in there and I took it easy on him at first. And then he kind of got serious. And then, obviously I had to go and things got a little turned up, let's say that. But yeah, it's happened before. But for the most part, man, I just enjoy promoting and being behind the scenes and growing these other fighters' brands, man. Like we got some real up and coming superstars. I think this card we got on February 16th, we'll have a couple guys that leave and go to the UFC right after this fight, or maybe take another fight or two with us and lead to the UFC. So for us, man, it's been really cool to grow them and get behind them and promote a lot of these up and coming guys.
Talking to Shawne Merriman right now. The big news dropped last night. Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan, joining the Los Angeles Chargers as their next head coach. What was your initial reaction?
It was about damn time. I think that was my initial reaction, because we all knew, not only who the Chargers wanted, who the Chargers fan base wanted, but also, too, what Jim Harbaugh wanted to do. He's been talking about Justin Herbert publicly for some time now. His affiliations with the Chargers. He's expressed interest of going up to the NFL level again. And, everything's happened in Michigan, and what do you want to even deal with that or deal with the headache of it? It was a perfect time. So, yes, it was a win for the Chargers. No doubt about that. But it was also a win for Jim Harbaugh. Like, you're walking into a situation where you can come in and win now. He's turned organizations and programs around that haven't had half the talent that the Chargers do. Haven't had a quarterback like Justin Herbert or Keenan Allen or Bosa, Khalil Mack. I mean, you can go across the board or Derwin James on how talented this team is, and you're walking in the door and you be able to drive this Ferrari right away. I mean, that doesn't happen too many times. And the Chargers were the best team to miss the playoffs, and it wasn't because of talent. It was because of leadership. It was because of coaching. Couldn't get them there. Couldn't lead them to the promised land. So you're walking into a talented team. It worked out best, in my opinion, for not only the Chargers, but Jim Harbaugh as well.
And that's the biggest thing. You get an adult that is ready in the room. Like, nothing against Brandon Staley. He didn't have the leadership skills, and he did so many questionable things that the locker room, even if they didn't turn on him publicly, internally they had to turn on him, and they had to realize that for the time that he was asked to be the head coach, he just wasn't fit to be the right guy for that job.
No, he wasn't. And look, I hate to say guys gave up, because that's a blanketed statement, right? But when you let a team score 60-plus points on you, there had to have been a good number of guys that gave up. And they gave up because they just didn't play for the coach. And that's what it comes down to, because if you respect your coach, if you believe in your coach, even if you don't like him, if you respect him, you don't let anybody put up 60-plus points on you. So that was a big part of that. The second part of it is, you're right, Brandon Staley just could not live up to that position. And the more and more, the closer it got to the end of his tenure there, it was more apparent that he wasn't the guy. Firing back off at the media, can't answer straight questions. His inability to change and make decisions on the fly. Those things you have to do as a head coach. He wasn't suitable. He wasn't suited to be in that position. It was more apparent at the end of the day. We know that Jim Harbaugh, that's the opposite issue that he's going to have. We know he's walking in. He's going to get guys to play for him. He's going to get guys fired up. He knows how to turn around. I mean, what he did with the San Francisco 49ers, they missed the playoffs 7, 8 times, 7, 8 years before he got there. They were 5 or 6 and 10 when he got there. It was like he made an immediate impact. And by the way, with half the roster that the Chargers have. So we know, just speaking from his past and his history and what his history tells us he's able to do, that he knows how to work with quarterbacks and he turns organizations around pretty quickly.
Shawne Merriman here with us. Yeah, I'm excited for 2 reasons about this hire. Number one, he's going to be the guy that gets the best out of Justin Herbert. But then number 2, everyone right now is chasing Patrick Mahomes. And we all look outside of the division because the division's been so bad and been so inconsistent. Like, now you look inside that division. Sure, the Raiders hired Antonio Pierce, but they don't have a quarterback. Sure, the Broncos, they have Sean Payton, but they don't have a quarterback. Now you get a great head coach to complement someone that I think is a great quarterback. It makes it fun, and it gives the Chargers down the road an opportunity to maybe take that baton away here and there from the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's no doubt about it. And that's one thing that everybody, including the fans and everyone around, have to not overlook. Stop talking about Super Bowl. Stop talking about the playoffs. Be the best team in your division, because the best team in your division currently is the Super Bowl champs. And so you have to go out and win the division first before you start talking about playoffs and anything else. That's how you get beat. But I'll tell you, just the press conference or just what Jim Harbaugh put out about laying out the groundwork, I can tell you that his mentality isn't, we come in and win a Super Bowl because I got Justin Herbert and some of these stars on the team. His mentality and just talking and hearing his words, about him being enthusiastic and some of the things that he want to do, he's willing to come in and lay the groundwork, and that's to be 1-0, right? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and then so forth. That's the attitude to have. And anybody, because you have a big name coach, and I want to say this because when the coaching hires were happening, you got Bill Belichick and all these other people. We get Bill Belichick, we can go win a Super Bowl. It doesn't work that way, right? It just doesn't work that way. But what Jim Harbaugh does and what he does for you is put you in the best situation to be the best team in your division. And I think that's why they made that move.
Talking to Shawne Merriman right now. Get into the games this weekend. Let's start with the AFC. I'll be in attendance for that Ravens-Chiefs game. Can't wait for it. Lamar Jackson up against Patrick Mahomes. What do you think is ultimately going to determine who goes to the Super Bowl out of the AFC this Sunday?
Right now, it's going to be a great game no matter what. Patrick Mahomes will never be a walkover. Travis Kelce and Andy Reid those guys would never be a walkover. Chris Jones never a walkover. I don't see anybody beating the Baltimore Ravens right now. Just not only forget the talent, forget how Lamar Jackson is playing. I'm talking about the brand of football that these guys playing on both sides of the ball. They're attacking that. Their mentality is next level. The physicality that these guys are playing with. Those inside linebackers that they got are the best 1-2 tandem in football, and it's resonating throughout that locker room. Look at Lamar Jackson's post game comments and his conversations. Even when they ask him about the Super Bowl, even when they ask him the bigger questions, he is focused on the next game. He's focused on the next game. And so he hasn't been like that in the past.
Talking to Shawne Merriman right now. Also, moving over to the NFC. Brock Purdy has become polarizing. I don't know if it's fair or not, but it's either people look at him and they say he's a good quarterback or they say he's a game manager. I know he did not play great up against the Green Bay Packers. He was bad for the first 3 quarters, and when needed to, he did what he needed to do, and he secured a victory. I'm just wondering, you having that defensive mindset, you playing at an elite level in the NFL. Like, if you were in the Lions locker room this weekend, how would you view, as a defensive player, Brock Purdy as a quarterback?
Well, for one, let's not overlook the fact that he got weapons, right? And we're so used to goading somebody or say that they suck off of one year, right? I mean, that's the worst thing that's happened in sports. Somebody have a big year, now they're the best players all time. Well, they didn't have a great year, now they're terrible. They shouldn't even play in the league. And we've gotten to that point now where we're starting to crown or decrown somebody depending on how that moment goes. It's just too early for Brock Purdy. He's playing great. I mean, he's leading in, I think, 5 or 6 different categories in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks, somewhere in the top 5 or whatnot. He's up there. They got a great staff and wide receivers with Debo and Kittle, and they're running the ball well. 2 great defensive ends and Fred Warner. They're loaded. But if anybody's sitting there saying that he's only good because he got weapons, That's the most ridiculous statement to make. That's a pat on the back to Kyle Shanahan. That's a pat on the back to John Lynch. That's a pat on the back to these guys who built this team up. And so if you want to criticize him for being surrounded by good players, what are we playing a team game for? Well, what are we playing a team game for? So he's not that good because he got weapons? It just doesn't work that way. But before you start judging a quarterback, especially in this league, I think there needs to be a good 3 or 4 year period before you kind of put that stamp on what he is.
Do you think the Lions win this week up against the 49ers? You're picking the Niners?
I picked the Lions to go all the way before the season.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And I said that because of how they finished up last year. I'm a big fan of two things helping momentum. Right. And I think that the way they finished up last year, the way those guys were playing, that it was just going to roll over into the season. I called it when they had Kansas City early on in the season. They played them. And I said they're going to beat Kansas City, and they did. People can go out and say they didn't have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones or whatever. They were still winning that game because they're that good. I think that the San Francisco 49ers have been a little exposed this year. I think that, whether Brock Purdy was hurt, head injury, or whatever he had, that on that 3 or 4 game losing streak that they had, but there's been some holes that you've seen with San Francisco 49ers this year. With the Detroit Lions, it's been many holes. Even the games that they lost, they were still in. They were never really dominated as much this year. Also, they have the same kind of mentality as the Ravens. They are very physical. They're the physicality that these guys play with. And we're not giving Dan Campbell enough credit, man. Like, this dude came in and instilled a mentality in a whole organization, in a whole city, in a short period of time. Think of how long this organization went with just that dark cloud, that shadow. And all of a sudden, one head coach comes in here and got everybody believing. Aiden Hutchinson and these guys talking the way they're talking after the games. Everybody believes now that they can go out and win. And that comes from the top. We just talked about Brandon Staley and what he wasn't capable of doing. Coaches matter. And I don't care what people say. And I really do believe that the Lions have a real shot this year.
He is Shawne Merriman. Make sure you check out Lights Out Extreme Fighting. You can watch it on Fubo Sports. And they got a big card coming up Friday, February 16th. And as always, Shawne Merriman, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Shawne Merriman joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a timeout. We have connected with Blake Corum, the legendary Michigan running back. So we'll go from one guest to the next. We'll be continuing to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers getting Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach, with a man that knows Jim Harbaugh extremely well. The legendary Michigan running back, Blake Corum, joins us in 5 minutes on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Now joining us on the guest line is one of the greatest players to ever wear a Michigan football uniform. He is the touchdown king, a national champion, and now he's off to the NFL. And that, of course, is Blake Corum, kind enough to join us once again on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Blake, first and foremost, congratulations. Always appreciate the time. And how you been?
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I've been great, man. I'm currently down here in the great state of Florida, training for the combine, getting ready.
Yeah, what is this like for you? You had a great career at Michigan, and then you got to turn the page so quickly. It ends in the best way possible, winning a national championship, but now you're all full go in the next chapter of your journey as you get set to hear your name called in a few months in the NFL draft. So what's this been like for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been a dream come true. This is something I've dreamed about since I was a kid, and so many great things has happened over this year and last year, you could say, but really this year with the national championship, a great Rose Bowl win, and now it didn't really get much time to really embrace that all because I had to get ready for the next chapter. Time waits for no man. So, it's been crazy, but it's been great.
When you get a moment to breathe and you get a moment to process what you guys accomplished this year, and it only happened a little over 2 weeks ago when you're walking off the field at NRG Stadium and you guys are the best team in college football, how do you kind of put that into words, what winning it all meant to you?
Man, that's what I came to Michigan for. When I sit back and think about everything my teammates, Coach Harbaugh, all the other coaches, the university have been through, and just to come out on top and shut everyone up and just let everyone know, this is Team 144 was one of the best teams ever to play college football. It means a lot to me. I don't take that for granted at all. And, I'm just blessed to have been able to be a part of such a great team. And, we're national champions, man. So that's something no one can ever take away from us.
And you had to fight for everything that you've ever earned in your life. I remember the first time we talked to you, you were discussing how when you were in high school to get to a better high school and get a little more recognition, your dad would drive you like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then your mom would drive you back each and every day. And it was a big sacrifice that your parents made. And then you get to Michigan, you guys got the program back into a good spot. You beat Ohio State twice. You won 2 Big Ten national championships. And at the end of that season, unfortunately, you get hurt. You made the decision to come back. And then you guys put the cherry on top of the sundae, the last missing piece, and winning that national championship. Just what did this year kind of teach you about yourself with everything that you had to overcome for the adversity and for it to end in the best way possible?
Yeah, I'm just so grateful for to go through such a great trial. I just thank God for allowing me. I wasn't happy that I got hurt, but once I really sat back and thought about it, it was great. Just because I grew as a man, I grew spiritually, mentally, and physically. And ultimately, if I didn't get hurt, most likely I would have gone to the NFL. So, I'm just blessed that, certain things happen. I believe everything happens for a reason. And, coming back to the University of Michigan was the best decision I ever made. And coming back and being with my teammates and ultimately just, coming out on top. Like I told everyone, what was that, February 9th, when I was in the Chrysler Center, that, we would go down as legends and win a national championship, and that's what we did. And so, just being able to say I was a man of my word and bring a national championship to Ann Arbor, man, you can't write a better story than that.
Blake Corum here with us. Is it bizarre to you? Is it kind of surreal that the journey and the chapter at Michigan is now over for you?
Oh, it's weird. I was actually on the phone with my mom earlier, and I was like, man, it feels weird just being a football player. Usually, I'm just so used to being a student athlete, and now I'm just a football player, just training every day. No schoolwork, strictly football, and so it's fun, it's nice, but it definitely feels a little weird.
Well, the big news the last 24 hours: your head football coach Jim Harbaugh is now going to join you maybe somewhere in the NFL, but he's off to the Los Angeles Chargers. Just when that did all go down, I know it wasn't shocking, but what was the initial reaction when Jim Harbaugh decided to go from college back to the NFL?
Yeah, no, not shocking at all. Coach Harbaugh is a man with goals, and, he set out to win a national championship and change Michigan around, and he did that. So why not go back and give it a round 2 at trying to win a Super Bowl? Just, he's such a great coach. He's won everywhere he's been. Coach means a lot to me. So just seeing him, be the head coach of the Chargers, I know he's not going to need a couple years to change that program around. They're going to win right away, and I'm excited to see what he does.
I wonder if you're going to be a part of that journey. I know you don't know where you're going to go yet in the NFL draft, but I could see Jim drafting you, and maybe you guys reunite in L.A.
Yeah, that would be great. Like I said, Coach Harbaugh, he's such a great coach. I love playing for him. I would do anything for Coach Harbaugh. And, so, hey, you never know. Coach might end up picking me up in the draft, but whether he does or doesn't, I know he's going to be such a successful, head coach as he always has been. And I know, the L.A. Chargers are going to do big things with Coach Harbaugh in charge.
Talking to Blake Corum right now, the legendary Michigan running back. He's getting set to hear his name called in the NFL draft in a few months. So now it's what's next for Michigan. They lose a lot of great players that go down as champions, and we'll see who does come back with the transfer portal now opening up. But a lot of people anticipate Shawne Moore is going to be the next head football coach. Just why would Shawne Moore, in your opinion, be the right choice for Michigan?
I mean, because he's a Michigan man. He's been in the program for a long time. He's been a great OC, and he has top 10 wins under his belt already as a head coach. So I think he's shown that, he's the guy for the job. He knows he's learned under Coach Harbaugh, and like I said, he's already had experience being the head coach when Coach Harbaugh was suspended. So, I think Coach Moore is definitely the man for the job. I think we go in-house with this one, keep the culture going down in Michigan, and make sure everyone's on the same page. But I think Coach Moore, he'd make a great head coach. And, I think he is the guy. I think we all know that. Obviously, we had to wait 7 days before they can name a head coach. But, he's the guy.
Yeah, I think everyone would be shocked if it's not him, right? Like, you'd be disappointed if it comes out in 7 or 8 days that he isn't going to be the next head coach of Michigan, right?
Yeah, I would be disappointed.
Wrap it up with Blake Corum. What would you say to a current Michigan player about the next journey, the next team? Because now with the transfer portal and it opening back up with Harbaugh leaving, people will get other opportunities to maybe go make some money in the NIL world that we're living in now. What would you say to some of your former now Michigan teammates about staying at Michigan and why they should see that journey through?
I called Donovan the other day, but what I would say to Team 145 is stick to the plan. Just because guys have left, we lost a good amount of our guys. There's still a bunch of guys that are coming back, and what we've built at Michigan, don't let anyone change that. The culture, the brotherhood, the love for the game, the love for each other. Don't let any of that diminish just because some guys left and Coach Harbaugh left. The culture at Michigan must remain the culture at Michigan, and everyone must be on the same train, and the train only goes in one way, and everyone has to hop on. So, that's what I would say to Team 145. Don't switch up. Stick to the plan. Stick to the Michigan way, the way that we've created since 2021. So, that's what I would say.
Why was this team so unselfish? Like, you guys had so many talented players, and ego could maybe derail a team that has so much talent, and the ball could only go to one person on every play. Why was this team able to sacrifice in order to reach their ultimate goal, which was win the Big Ten again, beat Ohio State, then you win the Rose Bowl, and then you cap it off with the national title?
Well, when you have a team that only cares about winning, and when you have a head coach that only cares about winning, that's what you guys will do, right? And you'll do everything to win. So, the culture we built at Michigan is win, 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 win. No matter what it takes, win the ball game. And so when you have that type of mindset, you don't care who scores, you don't care who gets a tackle or a pick or a touchdown. You just want to win by any means necessary. And so that's where that unselfishness comes from. We know we love our brothers. We love seeing our brothers have success. And like Coach Harbaugh always says, what's good for the bee is good for the hive. And what's good for the hive is good for the bee.
But what's your favorite Harbaugh saying? Is it that one? Just wondering.
I mean, he has so many, so many good ones. He's always throwing stuff at us. That's definitely one of them because it's so true. But I mean, one of my favorite ones, and it's just in the Harbaugh family, is who's got it better than us? That's a good one. That's legendary.
And the right answer is nobody, obviously. Before we let you run, Blake Corum, I was at that game in the Big House, and unfortunately, Zach Zinter goes down in the Ohio State game. I've never seen an environment like that where they just start chanting, "Let's go, Zach," just over and over and over again. And then, right, you guys are seeing your teammate, your brother, on the field with a nasty, gruesome injury, and there was a long layoff, and the next play, boom, you put the ball in the end zone, and you flash his number 6'5" up to the camera. Just how did you even think about that one in the moment? Because it was just so cool to see when it did play out in the Big House.
When you're your brother's keeper and you're around your brothers all the time, things just happen, right? So, I felt for Zach because I kind of felt what he was going through because I went through it last year, towards the last game of the season. I felt what he was feeling, even though I didn't get a chance to talk to him during that moment, I felt it. And so, I just wanted to throw it up for Big Zen and let him know, hey, we're going to get this dub for you.
I know that it was so special for you to win the national championship, but to see Donovan Edwards, who had an up-and-down season, end the season with those two big runs to set the tone for you guys in Houston up against Washington, you just had to be so elated for him, right?
So happy, and I'm just so happy it happened at that time because he's going to carry that confidence over into this next season. Like I told him, man, go get everything you ever dreamed of, and, be a leader of a team, be the leader that you are, and lead this team. And so, seeing him score those touchdowns in the biggest game of his career, of all our careers, it meant a lot. I just know he's going to do big things next year with him being, RB1, and I'm so excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see, him win the Doak Walker and be in the Heisman race. Walter King, you name it. I'm saying he's going to go get it. This is how much faith I have in my guy and his work ethic. It it was awesome seeing them score those 2 long ones.
Bringing it back to you, Blake Corum, you're going to get asked a lot of weird questions in the next few months leading up to the draft. I'll ask you a simple one. Why should a team draft Blake Corum? What are they getting if they call your name in April?
Yeah, why should a team draft Blake Corum? There's many reasons on why a team should draft me, but, whoever does draft me, whoever sees, I fit their scheme and I fit, their organization, they're going to get a guy who's going to work harder than ever, a guy that's all about winning, a guy that's there for the team, and a guy that, will do good on and off the field, a guy you don't have to worry about, doing dumb things that will make the team look bad, and a guy that's just always going to give his all. He's going to put his whole heart and soul into the game and into the organization, and with that being said, hopefully win a Super Bowl. So, just a guy that wants to give his all to the organization and win.
And the other thing, too, because, character matters with a human being. You have a lot on your plate when you're the star of a college football team and you get pulled in many different directions. What you've been able to do off the field with your charity work, it really is remarkable. Just tell some people what you do away from the football field to uplift some others. Yeah,
I believe charity work is why we are put on this earth. I think we're put on this earth to help others. And that's just something that's always been a part of me since I was a youngster. Just my mom and dad instilled it in me. So, some things I do and I'm going to continue to do is, my turkey drive. I've done it 3 years in a row, and even though I won't be in Ann Arbor, I'm going to make sure the Ypsilanti family still get turkeys. Backpack drives. We did the biggest Christmas giveaway I've ever seen. We've gone to McDonald's and got cheeseburgers, hamburgers, and just drove around handing burgers out to the homeless. We've done free football camps. We've done a lot in the community, and currently I'm trying to start this big project I'm starting a nonprofit organization, but I plan on buying some land, a good amount of land, and building zip lines, cabins, a man-made lake, just everything so I can bring kids that might be less fortunate. We'll bring them to what I would call a farm and just allow them to have a good time, teach them different skills and teach them how to change their oil, teach them how to change a tire, allow them to have fun. So, I'm trying to do a lot of things in the community to allow especially the younger generation to dream big. And so, those are my goals, man, just to make a difference.
It's absolutely awesome. I have to personally thank you, by the way. 2 of my best friends, I've told you this throughout the years, they attended Michigan, and they're elated, right? Because now they look at their school and they could be national champs. But another one of my best friends, he went to Ohio State. I haven't heard much from him this year, so I thank you. It's his 30th birthday today for kind of shutting him up this football season. Last thing I'll ask you, though, and, the scandal has been a big topic of conversation, obviously. You guys lost your coach for 3 games. You come back, right? You beat everyone in front of you. What do you say to people that still doubt what this Michigan team accomplished this past year?
To everyone that doubts, just let them doubt. They're probably miserable. They're probably the type of people that hate their job and, don't take each day like it's a blessing. Wake up on the wrong side of the bed. So, I don't really pay attention to those people that are still doubting on what we did. And, so I just let them be them. I don't feed my energy into negative energy. I'm a very positive person. So for the people that, just don't like life and, those are the people that are hating on us and think, we shouldn't have won a national championship. We really weren't that good of a team. So I just let them talk, man. Our game showed we're national champions. We beat the best teams. So I just let them talk.
Well, we'll let you run. We can't thank you enough for jumping on board with us today. Good luck to you and your family in this next chapter, and we're excited to hear where your name's going to get called to the NFL draft at the end of April. Thanks, Blake.
No, thank you.
There you go. Blake Corum joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here is Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
The NFL coaching vacancies are being filled quickly. There are now only 3 left. The Panthers have reportedly found their new head man, hiring Bucs offensive coordinator Dave Canales, who will be charged with trying to get the most out of former top pick overall, Bryce Young. Vic Fangio wasn't out of work long, less than 24 hours after he's out as Dolphins defensive coordinator. He's reportedly taking the same job in Philadelphia. Former LSU star Kayshon Boutte was arrested, accused of using an alias to illegally place bets. The former Tigers wide receiver allegedly placed 8,900 wagers, and 6 of them on LSU football. The Wizards are 7-36 and will have a new head coach when they take the floor next, with Wes Unseld Jr. moving into the front office. Brian Keefe takes over in the interim. Playing for the Celtics comes with enormous expectations, and nobody knows that more than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Boston currently the NBA's best team, but only titles matter to that franchise, and they've come up short in the last couple of years, especially last year, falling in Miami. Well, there will be tonight to take on the Heat. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Vegas, baby. Stay with Maggie and Perloff throughout the NFL playoffs all the way to Sin City.
24/7 on the free Odyssey app. Watch us anytime on YouTube and follow on your favorite social apps.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's start things off with Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. He gives an update on the health of Deebo Samuel.
For practice today, we just got Deebo, his shoulder. He won't practice. Everyone else is full.
How is Deebo feeling?
He's feeling better.
Does that make you more optimistic about his availability for Sunday?
Makes me feel better.
What is his exact injury? Is it a separation, a bruise, dislocation, a fracture?
His shoulder hurts.
Okay.
That's all, yeah. Just hurts.
There is nothing more awkward than when you're a media member and you have to ask about a player's status and you know, like that's just a question that you know you're going to get very little, if anything, out of Kyle Shanahan. But I think everyone would be shocked if Deebo doesn't at least give it a go. Last week, at first, we thought it was a head injury. Then he cleared that. And then we found out it was a shoulder injury that he suffered later on, shortly after that. I'm not saying Deebo's going to be 100%. He clearly won't be. I don't know if Deebo will even be effective. But I will be very surprised if he at least doesn't give it a go and at least tries to play. And then if he can't make it through the game, then they'll pull the plug on it. But I would be absolutely floored if he's not active coming up on Sunday for the NFC title game. Here is Richard Sherman on Undisputed on FS1 on why he's going with the Kansas City Chiefs over the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm betting against Lamar because I've only seen Patrick Mahomes lose in the playoffs to Burrow and Brady. I've only seen him lose one Super Bowl. He's been to 3. I've seen him lose an AFC Championship game to Burrow. I've seen him lose to Brady in the AFC Championship. I've not seen anybody else send him home with a loss. And so it's not about Lamar. It's about Patrick Mahomes has found a way to win these games regardless of situation, regardless of what's going on. It's going to take a Herculean effort to send him home.
It's a fair take by Richard Sherman, but did you see Joe Flacco beating Tom Brady in playoff games? Did you see Mark Sanchez beating Tom Brady in a playoff game? Like, upsets happen, and this would not be considered an upset because the Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite, but you will have people like Richard Sherman, which you can't fault him for saying, I'm going to give Kansas City the benefit of the doubt because until someone takes out the champ, you're going to think that they're going to be the champ again. But the only thing that I would say is when Richard Sherman says it's going to take a Herculean effort, why could I not say that word correctly? Go.
Herculean.
Herculean effort.
Herculean.
Herculean?
More like Herculean.
Whatever.
Close. Herculean.
You're going to need to be like, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules.
There it is.
Is that better? You're going to need an effort like that. Is Lamar Jackson not capable of doing that? Yeah, he is. He's now going to be the MVP of the league twice. And the dude's like a cheat code in a video game. So I think Lamar Jackson in his building is up for the task. And I can't wait. I found out today that I'm going to be going to that game Ravens and Chiefs. I'm going to be driving down early Sunday morning, going to be watching the AFC Championship game. That is going to be a wonderful matchup when you have Mahomes up against Lamar Jackson. Just going to be spectacular. Here is Jared Goff. I heard this. This was a very funny exchange that he had with the reporter. Listen up.
You guys got a lot of really good players, obviously. But
Oh, thank you.
What's that?
I said thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe not viewed, though, as the superstars like maybe the 49ers have or other people.
All right, never mind.
He is developing a quiet confidence. There is now some bravado to Jared Goff. There is now an aura about Jared Goff, where I don't think anyone's going to say Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback in the league, or as the kids would say, he is him. Like, I don't think anyone's going to say that about Jared Goff. But this dude now has been to a Super Bowl with the LA Rams, and he has the Detroit Lions when he was an afterthought in that trade in the Stafford deal, and it was mainly for picks with the Lions. He now has the Lions 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl. And really their first year with legitimate expectations. And he's already exceeded those expectations. I said the 49ers in the beginning of the week. I'm still going to pick the 49ers. Stu just picked up his head and he was like, uh-oh. Is he about to pick the Detroit Lions? But as the week is going on, and we'll see how I feel tomorrow on a Football Friday. Because like last week, for example, I thought the Texans were going to cover all the way through the week. And then we got to Friday. I'm like, I'm taking the Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens laying the 9.5 points and ended up winning. Right now, I'm feeling like the Lions lose the game, but they cover the 7.5 point spread. That's what I'm thinking right now. But the Lions are definitely alive. I don't think you walk into this game. Like early in the week, I thought the Lions didn't really have much of a chance. I don't think the Lions now don't have a chance in this football game. As the week has gone on, I'm like inching closer and closer and closer to the Lions side, but I'm still going to pick the 49ers. Here is our pal, Boomer Esiason, who once yelled at me in this office, and I love Boomer, for wearing shorts when I was doing a overnight shift here at CBS Sports Radio, and he thought I should not be wearing shorts here at our CBS Sports Radio studios. But he is now Mr. Insider. Ben Johnson, he's saying, will be the next Commanders coach. This courtesy of Boomer and Gio on WFAN in New York City.
I'll tell you who the best coach available is to make him the best player he can be. His name is Ben Johnson. He's the offense coordinator for the Detroit Lions. But he's going to be the head coach of the Commanders. I told you that.
So you're telling me that's a lock?
Yeah.
Head coach of the Commanders?
Yes.
Ben Johnson?
Yes.
Grain of salt spot?
Nope.
Lock spot?
Lock spot.
Lock spot!
How about that? So Adam Schefter is that. Hold on. Let me just finish the thought there on Ben Johnson, because I didn't listen to anything Boomer said. I know what Boomer already said, but we do have breaking news. We'll get to it in just a second. Yeah, I think everyone knows that Ben Johnson is going to be the next head coach of the Commanders. But let's do this. I'm calling an audible. Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. Fade down the news brief music. The news brief is now over. Breaking news. Simultaneously, when the Boomer Esiason audio is just being played, Samter gets in my ear and we got breaking news. And the Falcons have their new coach. And what happened was I picked up my head as he said that, and I looked to the right and I see Dan Orlovsky on ESPN. He's not the new Falcons coach, just to be clear. But underneath him, it says, breaking news, Raheem Morris is being hired by the Atlanta Falcons. My first initial thought is, wow. Not just because Raheem Morris got the job. He was deserving of being an NFL head coach again in the National Football League. But the reason why I say wow is it did appear that the momentum was reaching a stop and it was starting to sway away from Bill Belichick going to Atlanta. But now, where the heck is Bill Belichick going to coach next year? So Raheem Morris is the new coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And really, what I think this means is through all the reporting, Rich McKay, who's a longtime confidant and works for the Falcons, a longtime confidant of Arthur Blank, he got his way. Because a lot of people said, and a lot of people have been speculating that Rich McKay did not want to hire Bill Belichick. Could you imagine if I would have told you last week that Dave Canales and Raheem Morris would get head coaching jobs before Bill Belichick. That's a stunner. Because it was Stu the other day who said, yeah, I think there's like a less than 15% chance now that Belichick winds up in Atlanta. And I still thought that number was a little bit too big. But it looks like unless Belichick just gets desperate and he goes to a place that he didn't want to go to, or if something happens in the next week, a job opens up that we didn't expect, that Bill Belichick is not going to be coaching next year.
The only ones that are still open are the Commanders and the Seahawks. And Dan Quinn is heavily favored to go to the Seahawks. Pete Carroll seems like he's going to get locked out. If Boomer's report's correct, Vrabel might get locked out. Could you imagine if Vrabel, Pete Carroll, and Bill Belichick, the top three names outside of Jim Harbaugh, all get shut out?
Yeah, there's going to be some good TV analysts. I'll tell you that. Or next year they'll just jump to the top of the line. And I don't think Belichick's not going to coach again. You know, Vrabel will coach again. Pete Carroll, he wants to coach. I don't know if he actually will. But the Raiders have hired Antonio Pierce. The Falcons have now hired Raheem Morris. The Tennessee Titans have hired Brian Callahan. The Chargers have hired Jim Harbaugh. And the Panthers have hired Dave Canales. So that means you're right, Santa. There's two jobs left. It's the Commanders and it's the Seahawks. It's a foregone conclusion that the Commanders are going to land Ben Johnson. So for the Seahawks, I know Dan Quinn's doing his second interview. You know, can Vrabel land there? We know it won't be Pete Carroll. They just got rid of him. And does Belichick maybe call up the Seahawks and say, hello, it's me, and try to go land in Seattle? That would be something. Belichick replacing Pete Carroll after their history. My, oh my, we'll talk more about this next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
The big news. Yes, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. No, that isn't the big news. The big news is Raheem Morris is the new head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Last time he was a head coach, it was in the NFC South with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was from 2009 to 2011. And he was in Atlanta from 2015 all the way up until 2020. And in that 2020 season, he did serve as the interim head coach, along with being the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. The last few years, he was in L.A. with the Los Angeles Rams as their defensive coordinator. And now he's going back to the ATL to be the next head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons. You know, I don't want to take anything away from Raheem Morris because he was deserving of another opportunity, and you were hoping he was going to get another opportunity. But the story here is Bill Belichick. Because if you had to equate it to football terms, you know, I would kind of use the low-hanging fruit joke here. It looked like Bill Belichick going to Atlanta was kind of like having a 28-3 lead. Like, that's how likely it was. That you're up 28-3 and you're trying to go get the job done and win a Super Bowl. The expectation is when you're spotted a 28-3 lead that you're going to win the Super Bowl. We know for the Falcons, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady prevented that from happening. But just a week and a half ago, this was almost like compared to 28-3 in terms of the likelihood that the Atlantization and Belichick to not get the job. But if that's the reason, and let's just say that's the reason why Belichick ultimately didn't get this job, well, then the Falcons are going to continue to be a losing organization. Like, I want Raheem Morris to succeed. I picked the Falcons this past year to win the NFC South. Like, I think they have a good young roster, and they just need a quarterback. But why are you hiring Raheem Morris is the question. Because it doesn't add up to me. outside of the way that I just laid it out, where you have a coach here that Arthur Blank reportedly clearly wanted. That was the name. That was going to be the guy, right? It was Belichick. He was enamored by Bill Belichick. But then people close to you were like, no, we don't want Bill. And nothing against Raheem Morris. Maybe it turns out in the second chapter to be a very fine head coach. But Bill Belichick, his resume is so much greater and obviously pales in comparison to pretty much any other candidate. So I look at this and I do see the Falcons and I say, with the Falcons, how much did the internal pressure get to Arthur Blank where it made him deviate away from that decision? Because I don't think this was Arthur Blank on his own souring on Bill Belichick. It was other people that were close to him. So you're entitled to that. You're allowed. If that's how you want to run your football team, that's fine. Also, I think what can't get lost here is that some of this is on Bill too. Because Bill Belichick has shown the last 2 years that he's not willing to listen. He's not willing to adapt. And I love Bill Belichick. I'm extremely grateful that he brought my football team 6 championships. But Bill Belichick in the year of 2024 is not your ideal coaching candidate. Now, he should still be one of 32. He should still have a job in the NFL as a head coach. I still believe with the proper talent, and you need talent to win. There's a reason why every time the Patriots have won a Super Bowl, Belichick says, it's all about the players. It's all about the players. It's all about the players. You know, players win games and coaches lose them. That's what he says every time. But Bill has done a lot of things where he's been so adamant about doing it his way or the highway that he's made some dumb decisions. Like he had a bad relationship clearly with Mac Jones. Regardless of what Bill said publicly and regardless what Mac has said publicly, that relationship soured. And not only that, the dumbest thing of all was he trusted his offense with a defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Like, that was a stupid decision. Everyone knew that was going to fail from the start. And then depending on the reporting that you believe, he wanted to keep Patricia running the offense until Kraft came in and said, no, you're hiring Bill O'Brien. So it was time for him to move on from New England. But you go back to that press conference, which they did not amicably part ways. Belichick still wanted to be the coach of the team. But it seemed like it was a lock that Belichick would be coaching this upcoming year. Robert Kraft even said it. It's going to pay me when he's on the sideline somewhere else next year, and we know how great of a coach Bill Belichick still is. But now you're going through this cycle, and it doesn't appear like Bill's going to get a job. There's only 2 spots left. And you thought Belichick going to the Commanders was a lock? It's a foregone conclusion now. It's the lock of all locks that Ben Johnson is going to wind up with the Washington Commanders. So the only other opening out there is Seattle. And Bill really wouldn't make sense for Seattle because they just got rid of a very good coach, a coach that is probably going to the Hall of Fame in Pete Carroll, and a guy who is older in Pete Carroll. So you're going to replace him with basically, how am I going to say this? A better version of a coach than Pete Carroll, but he doesn't connect with his locker room as well as Pete Carroll did.
He's 6 months younger, though. That's a big deal.
Yeah. When you get to that age, you just don't even say your age. So I guess it is a big deal in that regards because Bill could call Pete Carroll one coach in the NFL, or used to be coach in the NFL. As an old man, I guess he could say that to Pete Carroll. So it doesn't make sense. It's not a fit for Bill to land in Seattle. So now you really have Bill going through this offseason. He won't ever say it, but he's humiliated. He got to be. You don't land a job. He put all of his eggs in the basket of Atlanta, and Atlanta ended up saying, we don't want you. That's the crazy part. And now Bill's going to be sitting on the sideline unless a team that has already made their decision reverses course of action. Now, I don't think Jerry Jones, even if Bill calls up and begs and says, I want to go to Dallas, I don't think Jerry Jones is moving on from Mike McCarthy this offseason. And they've already brought him back, even though they haven't extended him. The Buffalo Bills, I don't think they're moving on from Sean McDermott. But you go through some of these teams that have already made decisions. I think Philadelphia should actually reverse course of action. And I know they won't, because Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman like a head coach that they can control and that can be a puppet. And Nick Sirianni yesterday just showed he is a puppet. When you get asked at a press conference, well, what do you actually do? You're bringing a new OC, you're bringing a new DC, it's Vic Fangio now. What do you actually do? And he's like, I'm the head coach of the team. But like, what do you actually do? Well, you're the head coach figure, but you're really getting pulled and the strings are being operated by Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. So that would be the complete antithesis, going from Sirianni, a puppet, to an actual coach and a CEO of the entire team and a my way or the highway type of guy in Bill Belichick. But yesterday's press conference for Philadelphia was really one of the more humiliating, embarrassing, pathetic just displays that I've ever seen. Yeah, I know Nick Sirianni makes a lot of money, but they humiliated him yesterday. And they basically sent the message to the public that Nick is the head coach in title, but really Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are the head coach of the team, and what they say Nick will do. And Nick basically has no power outside of just having the title, but quite frankly, it's pretty much an empty title, and everyone now is realizing that Nick Sirianni doesn't have that much say in what goes on with the Philadelphia Eagles. But the shame in all of this is that the Eagles have a great roster. The Eagles have an extremely talented roster. And I don't want to waste away that Super Bowl window. So even though they went through the embarrassment of yesterday, and you thought yesterday was humiliating, imagine they come out tomorrow and they said, we're now parting ways with Nick Sirianni and we're going to hire Bill Belichick. But that's what they should do, because it makes the Philadelphia Eagles better. So that's what should happen, but it won't happen. And in all likelihood, unless something crazy goes down in the next week or two, or someone maybe walks away, you know, what Florio has floated out there, maybe Andy Reid walks away. You know, he wins a Super Bowl this year, he walks away, and then Belichick swoops right in. Here I come to save the day. And he teams up with Patrick Mahomes. In all likelihood, the hoodie is going to have to wait a full year to make his triumphant return to the NFL. And you know this, and I know this, with as great of a resume as Bill Belichick has, he is 71 years old. You know, the more and more you wait, even with your resume, but why the Falcons passed you up, and this new trend of coaching where it's a player's coach, but to succeed, you can't be a doormat, but then you can't basically be a dictator and be a my way or the highway guy like Belichick is. The more and more we trend to that style, and you see coaches have success that way, like a DeMeco Ryans with the Texans, like a Dan Campbell with the Lions. Look, that style just got Antonio Pierce the head coaching job in the Raiders because he won over that locker room. The more and more stuff like that happens, you move further and further away from the idea of Bill Belichick coaching again. You know, early in the week, if you would have said, will we never see Bill Belichick coach again? I would say you're damn crazy. But I don't know what the market's going to look like next year. And I'm sure eventually he could find a desperate owner that will hire him based off the reputation and based off the results that Bill Belichick has done. However, with that being said, Arthur Blank was extremely desperate. Arthur Blank is trying to win. And Arthur Blank just said, yeah, I'm going to trust the guys in my organization that don't want Bill. And they won him over, and they persuaded him to go hire Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick. Crazy, crazy, crazy. That's what it is. It's wild. Bill Belichick is not going to be coaching next year in the NFL. Like, there's sometimes you say things into the microphone and you go, okay, I believe this, but I could see myself being wrong. But when I say today that Bill Belichick is not going to be coaching in the NFL next year, it's just a weird sentence, but it's reality. because the Commanders are going to hire Ben Johnson. The Seahawks aren't hiring Bill Belichick. And barring something unforeseen happening, maybe a retirement, I don't know, like a health issue happening with a current coach, like something that you never even want to imagine.
We have heard from Mike Florio that Andy Reid, the radar is up for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Like
Belichick and Mahomes.
That's the only thing. Ugh. Could you know what? I would never root against Bill Belichick unless he's coaching up against my team. I think I would have to root against Bill Belichick if he goes to Kansas City. For one reason and one reason only. I look each and every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, at the man to my left, who is Samter, who is the most fugazi football fan, Kansas City Chiefs fan I've ever met. If you got a championship this year, Andy Reid walking away or waddling away into the sunset, devouring a cheeseburger and holding up a Lombardi trophy, and I then have to see Belichick, my guy Bill, go to Kansas City, that would be insufferable. And you know what? It would actually be crazy for sports talk radio, Samter. Here's why. Because people have already started with this jackassery that Mahomes is already better than Brady, which I don't even want to get into that argument because it's so ridiculous as much as I love Mahomes. But wouldn't that be the ultimate, bleep you move from Belichick to Brady? I'll go win with Mahomes, and I'll go enhance the resume of Mahomes when people will then try to take away from the resume of the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady.
It kind of has Phil Jackson vibes on it, going from Michael Jordan to Shaq and Kobe, just kind of like jumping from one elite superstar, all-time great GOAT to another.
It would be wild. It really would be wild. But, do you believe that Andy Reid is coaching maybe the last or second to last game of his career? As much as I love Florio and I love when Florio comes on, I would be really surprised if Florio ends up being right about it. He didn't say it definitively. He just said it's on the Chiefs' radar that there's a possibility that Andy Reid could retire at the end of this year. But why would I get it. You have accomplished everything you can. You finally won the 2 Super Bowls. If you get another, you're 3. But, you're still in your early 60s, and you have Mahomes, and things are thriving right now in Kansas City. With how much he loves football and how much we talk about these football coaches just being addicted to the game, why would he walk away right now?
I mean, there's been some family stuff and health stuff.
Yeah.
So it might not be his choice. I mean, obviously the whole thing with his son. Yeah, no, I understand. But I mean, it's one of those things where also if you walk away with another title and you have your 3 plus your however many NFC Championship appearances with the Eagles and the Super Bowl appearance there, maybe he just says, all right, I've got my 3. I've done what I can do. Patrick Mahomes is basically, he's a head coach on the field. Anyone else can step in and do my job.
It's actually a sad day in the NFL. Because the 2 most talked about people the last 20 years in the NFL, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. We know Brady's done. If that story's true that but Purdy said it, that the 49ers tried to get Brady and Brady said, no, Brady's not playing again. But I didn't think this was the end for Bill. It would have been bizarre seeing him somewhere else. But it's now starting to feel like this is the end for Bill Belichick. And this has to drive him crazy because he's less than 20 wins away from catching Don Shula for the most wins of all time, which is an important record, maybe to nobody else, but it is important to Bill Belichick.
If he wants it, he'll be back next year if there's not an option for him this year. Some team next year will be like, all right, we want Bill. It seems like he only interviewed with the Falcons. Doesn't mean that was the only team that was interested in him.
But is he going to adapt? Is he going to change?
Some teams not going to care.
You're probably right.
Arthur Blank and Rich McKay, they're very proud. They like to have their hand in where they want to have their hand. There's going to be some team next year.
Well, this is Rich McKay. This is not Arthur. I know it's ultimately Arthur Blank's decision.
Right.
But he clearly wanted to hire Bill Belichick.
Right. And there was a clip also that we can maybe play later where Boomer talked about the issues between the Falcons and Bill. And it seemed like maybe Rich McKay would have to be on the cutting block for Bill to agree to go to the Falcons. There were certain things that Bill was demanding from the Falcons, and maybe Rich McKay realized it's either me or him, and I'm going to stay with me.
But you know what I would have said? Snip, snip to Rich McKay. See ya. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That's what I would have said to Rich freaking McKay. Yeah, you're going to go over Rich McKay, then Bill Belichick? I don't care what you think of Belichick now. Are you kidding me? So, That's a decision. Do you think Bill Belichick has coached his final game in the NFL? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. The big news of the day. It's kind of crazy. The last 2 or 3 weeks, we went from Pete Carroll getting fired, even though they moved him to a different title, but getting fired as the head coach. And then we did that show for 2 hours, and then the final hour was all Nick Saban retires. And then the following day, it was, okay, Bill Belichick and the Patriots are parting ways. Then a few weeks later, you find out that Kalen DeBoer lands at Alabama. 3 out of the 4 coaches in the college football playoff are not back, right? Harbaugh lands with the Chargers. You had Saban retire, and then DeBoer go from Washington to Alabama. The only one standing there is Sark. And then today you find out, or last night you find out, Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers. He's leaving Michigan. And then shortly after that, the expectation, even though it was moving a little bit away from it, was that Bill Belichick would wind up in Atlanta, but now it's Raheem Morris winding up in Atlanta. And oh yeah, by the way, the Carolina Panthers hired Dave Canales. This is a wild coaching cycle. And in all likelihood, it's going to end with Pete Carroll having to sit out a year, Belichick having to sit out a year, and maybe, we'll see, Vrabel can make sense for the Seahawks. But in all likelihood, probably Mike Vrabel sitting out as well. So we are down to 2. Commanders not having a head coaching option, and the Seattle Seahawks not having a head coaching option. Do you think Belichick will ever coach again? 855-212-4CBS.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Last 24 hours, we see Jim Harbaugh land in Los Angeles with the Chargers. We see Dave Canales get moving to Carolina. And now Raheem Morris is going to be the next head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Bill Belichick looking like he's going to get shut out of this coaching cycle, with only the Seahawks and the Commanders' job still remaining open. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Frank in Georgia next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Frank, what's shaking?
Hey, thanks for having my call. You know, as a lifelong Patriots fan, I would more than happy just like to see Bill just ride off into the sunset. I don't think he's going to coach next year. I don't think he should coach next year.
Why not? Why do you think he shouldn't coach next year? Just wondering.
Well, I think he had his time in the sun. He had his moments. Look at all the Super Bowl rings he has. You know, his record without Brady before he's with the Patriots and after with the Patriots is not that good. And, you know, as a Patriots fan, I'm tired of hearing people saying, look at Belichick. He's not that great. He needed Brady to win all those games.
Yeah, sure and you know, that conversation is insufferable. And I say this as a Patriot fan as well, Frank. Like, yeah, Brady was more important than Belichick, but it doesn't mean that Belichick gets no credit for what the dynasty was, because it was just many different eras in that one dynasty where earlier on I do think it was more Belichick than Brady, but then through time, when you have the greatest quarterback of all time, it makes life a whole lot easier. And then Brady really became the face of the team and the face of the reason why they won so many titles. But you just look at the last Super Bowl that they won, you know, that was more against the Rams. It was more Belichick's defense holding them to 3 points than Brady's offense only putting up 13 points in the game. So thanks for the phone call. But it is crazy where how you see the end of Brady's career compared to what could be the end of Bill Belichick's career. And that even makes what Brady done, what Brady was able to accomplish so much more impressive, is that Brady never had a moment where you really thought like Father Time caught up to him. Because he goes to Tampa Bay after leaving New England, where people questioned him. And people said, oh, here's the decline. They had a bad 2019. He wins Super Bowl the first year. Then they make the second round of the playoffs the following season. And then the year after that, you know, I know they won a crappy division, but they still made the postseason. And Brady's numbers did dip, but he still statistically wasn't this horrible quarterback. So you look at the end of Brady's career, it kind of went peacefully. And Brady had it was gravy after he won that Super Bowl the first year. It didn't matter how many more years he was going to play. The only thing that got ugly with Brady was the retirement, then coming back, and then retiring again. That was the only crazy kind of hectic part in the large scheme of things. But for Belichick, you go from without having Brady, having a respectable first season without Brady. The next year, you take the team to the postseason. But really, that game in Buffalo, which I was there, once they lost that game to Buffalo, what happened to the Patriots the last 2 years? You wasted a year of Mac Jones. Then you finally brought in an offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien. The offensive talent, and I know the defense played well, but the talent on the team was just not there. And that's the biggest criticism that I have of Belichick in the last 2 years. I know he's been without Brady for 4, but it's especially in the last 2 years. He still almost thought with the moves that he made that he had Tom Brady on the roster. You were able to cut corners when Tom Brady was your quarterback, because that's how outstanding, that's how great the greatest quarterback, right, of all time is. But when you assemble a team in the year of 2023, when Mac Jones was your quarterback and your best wide receiver was either Kendrick Bourne or Juju Smith-Schuster on paper, it didn't take a brainiac to figure out that the team wasn't going to be that damn good. And that's what I was like. The last 2 years, people be like, oh, how you doing with the Patriots losing? I'm like, kind of expected this. I didn't think the team was any good. I thought the team was crap entering this year. And 2 years ago, he was able to have them to contend for a playoff spot in that final week of the season with a bad roster. But when you keep on pumping out bottom 5 rosters, eventually, I don't care how great of a coach you are, you're going to be a bottom 5 team. And this was the year where all bleep kind of hit the fan. But to see the way that this is now halted, where Belichick, in all likelihood, is not getting a job this hiring cycle, it's really surreal when you compare the end of Brady's career to the end of Belichick's career. And maybe Belichick's coaching next year, I wouldn't rule it out, but I can't say there with certainty after getting shut out of the Falcons job and it going to Raheem Morris that I'm confident that Bill's going to be coaching next year in the NFL. Like right now, you look around the league, and there's always going to be potential openings, right? Like look how many we just had. Like McDermott's on the hot seat entering this year. Robert Saleh's on the hot seat, but Bill's never coaching the Jets. He wouldn't even walk to the Jets locker room when they did the 30 for 30 with Bill Parcells.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
No, trust me, he ain't going to the Jets. There is no. Bill would rather not coach in the NFL ever again than coach the New York Jets organization.
Bill going to the Jets might actually get me back to being a Jets fan.
No, you can't now go back to being a Jets fan. You made your bed. It's very successful. You should enjoy lying into it. But if that would be the biggest weasel move ever, if you go from being a Jet fan to a Chief fan, then back to a Jet fan. I just couldn't trust you as a man anymore. I would think, like, part of me thinks less of you as a human being now since you gave up on your team. But if you went back, man, I would really think less of you.
That's okay. I'll do whatever I need to do for my fandom in my heart.
Like the Broncos have Sean Payton. The Raiders just hired Antonio Pierce. We know the Chargers just hired Jim Harbaugh. Maybe Andy Reid's going to retire and eventually go away, but I don't think that's going to happen this offseason. John Harbaugh's good with the Ravens. I don't think Belichick's going back to Cleveland, and Stefanski should be safe. Tomlin's safe with the Steelers. The Bengals have had a lot of success with Zach Taylor. Everyone's good right now in the AFC South, and Tennessee just made a hire of Callahan. It's like the Commanders are going to go with Ben Johnson. You know what the team could be? Daboll with the Giants. Daboll doesn't have a successful season this year. And you know how much Belichick respects the Giants organization. That could be a year from now, and that's been speculated before when he was in New England, that maybe Bill's coaching the Giants a year from now. You go through all the teams, through all the 8 divisions and the 32 teams in the NFL, where Bill could wind up next. I actually think that's the one with the greatest chance. He's not coaching this year. We know that. Bill Belichick coaching the Giants a year from now if Daboll does not live up to the hype in year 3. Because Daboll had a great year 1, bad year 2. If he has a bad year 3, do maybe the Giants pull the plug and they go bring in Bill Belichick? I also wonder, is Bill going to be a consultant this year? He's not going to be I don't think he's going to be a defensive coordinator. I'm just going to go out on a limb with that one. But does Bill go be a consultant somewhere where he maybe realizes the coach is on shaky ground and you kind of Doc Rivers your way into a job where you start consulting people, then you stab them in the back, and then you take over the team? Could be something. Or what happens if Sirianni gets fired 4 or 5 games into the season? Does he just magically wind up in Philadelphia? But I would say, if I had to make a prediction today where Bill Belichick is coaching next, I think the team with the best chance is actually the Giants in what would be in 2025. But man, he's not going to be in the NFL in 2024 unless something crazy happens. We'll end the show out in style next with a Zach Gelb Show Thursday PSA. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here's the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, Raheem Morris is getting a second chance at being a head coach and going to a familiar place. The Falcons are reportedly hiring their former assistant to be their next head man. He had spent 6 seasons on the coaching staff in Atlanta on both sides of the ball, including defensive coordinator in 2020, and was also the interim after Dan Quinn was let go. Dave Canales helped rejuvenate Baker Mayfield. Now the Panthers are hoping he can tap into Bryce Young's talent. The Panthers reportedly hiring the Bucs offensive coordinator as their new head coach. The Eagles moved quickly to name their new defense coordinator, reportedly agreeing to a deal with Vic Fangio less than 24 hours after he mutually parted ways with the Dolphins. Former LSU receiver Kayshon Boutte was arrested and is facing charges of illegally using an alias to place bets while underage. Boutte allegedly placed 8,900 wagers. 17 of those were on college football games and 6 involved LSU. There's been a second coaching change in the NBA this week. This time it's the 7-36 Wizards going in a different direction with Wes Unseld Jr. out, moving into the front office. Brian Keefe will coach the team in the interim. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, wild show. The two biggest topics of conversation. Jim Harbaugh off to the Chargers. Raheem Morris off to the Falcons. The future of Bill Belichick is extremely, and I mean extremely ambiguous, with only two jobs remaining open, and no one thinks he's getting the Commanders job or the Seattle Seahawks job. So in all likelihood, Bill Belichick will be on the sidelines for the 2024 NFL season. All right, it is a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's end the show out in style with a little Zach Gelb Show PSA.
It's a Thursday. What do you have to say? It's the weekly Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Who's with me? Let's go! Come on! Hey!
So I have a two-step PSA here. Two-step. But I got a two-step PSA. Number one. So last week for the divisional round, watching the Chiefs go up against the Buffalo Bills. Go to a buddy's house. You know, invite like 5-6 guys over. We order a bunch of sandwiches, have a bunch of chips, some cookies, right? Like bunch of good food just to sit there and eat. When you are going to watch a game somewhere, especially when it's a playoff game, and the host was great, right? Big TV, sound is on, but you're going there to watch the game. I had one friend in particular who was there, but he wasn't really there to watch the game. And when I'm watching a game, I don't need a lecture. As much as I love animals and I love dogs, how I should go get a dog and adopt a dog. I don't have time to think about that. I'm there to watch the damn game, all right? So don't sit there and tell me why I need to adopt a dog when I'm watching the game. I'm only thinking about how the Chiefs are going to try to stop Josh Allen, or how Patrick Mahomes is going to have some phenomenal victory once again, or the Bills are going to finally be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about a puppy. I'm not thinking about having a man's best friend for the rest of my life, right? I'm thinking about the football. Now, that same friend. It's kind of been a rough show for him today because he was the same friend that was the Ohio State fan that turns 30 today. So he invites us all. This is before I knew that I was going to Baltimore for the AFC Championship game. He invites us all on Sunday, Conference Championship Sunday, 10 to 12, go to a golf simulator, 12 to 2, have lunch, and then from 3 to whenever, watch the games. It's in Brooklyn. I know it's not that far from me, but no one's going to sit there and watch both games, right? So then I'd have to leave the first game, probably miss the first half of the first game or the first quarter. Like, don't schedule big events, even if you're trying to make them around sports. Like, don't do that. You got to know there's some events on the sports calendar that you can't be, oh, let's go celebrate something. So happy 30th birthday to my friend, but don't invite me to your 30th birthday party on Conference Championship weekend. I told him this. When he set this out there, I said, that's Conference Championship weekend. I may be going to the game. I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm not going to. That's whatever you're planning. I need to be on my couch with a bunch of food, with the sound on, and I need the focus to be on the game. Because if you go to a bar for a game, I don't know if I'm getting sound. And I got to be plugged in with what I do. So those are my 2 PSAs today. Samter, what do you got cooking, my friend?
You're a bad friend, man.
No, I'm not.
His 30th birthday? It's not like his 28th or his 32nd.
Okay.
You can DVR the games. You can watch the games at the bar with your friends. Now, you're going to the games.
You just learned a lot about me. Football is all the way up here. Friends, all the way down there.
Right, like I said, you're a bad friend.
I have told my father before, we've had this conversation, whenever it's my dad's time to go, that if he passed away on like a Thursday and people wanted the funeral on a Sunday, my dad gave me permission to tell everyone else to go kick rocks. We're not burying him on a Sunday. You don't do things on a football Sunday. You just don't. Outside of watch football and do what men do best. That's eat food and watch football.
You're not just a bad friend, you're a bad son.
My dad agreed with me. He said I'd be mad if he said he would be mad if we buried him on a Sunday.
The Gelb clan is insane.
No, it's not. We're just actual normal human beings.
I had my daughter's birthday on a football Sunday. You know what we did? We played, we watched football on TV all day, and we drank, and it was great. So you know what? You can adapt.
And you have to fake that happiness.
Yeah, I don't.
You didn't actually want to be there.
I did. My friends did. We were all drinking, having fun, watching football all day.
Go ahead. What do you got?
So here's my PSA, and this is kind of a preemptive PSA. Because I don't know how things are going to go tomorrow. Kind of hoping I know how things are going to go tomorrow, but I don't know.
What's going on tomorrow?
Is my first flight with my now 1-year-old daughter.
Oh.
And I don't know how it's going to go. She might
Shut that kid up!
She might be an angel and just hang out and play and be happy like she normally is. Or she might be in pain with ear infections and all the other issues with all the ear popping, screaming and crying for 3 hours on a plane. I don't know how my daughter's going to be. But here's my PSA. Because before I had a kid, I hated everybody who had a crying, screaming baby on a plane.
Now you want them to be nice to you. I hope you get some curmudgeon.
So here's my PSA.
I hope your daughter cries the entire flight.
Don't be a Samter. Don't be a Samter. Don't be like I used to be when I was a kid. Getting pissed off and angry and telling the stewardess, hey, can you tell that lady to shut her kid up?
Don't be a douche.
Don't be that guy. Don't be me. Be better than me. Be Dad Samter.
Yeah.
Be Grandpa Samter. Be Papa Samter. And be patient. If my baby's crying, say, hey, she's cute. I'll put on headphones and I'll deal. That's my PSA.
So you know what? I actually think we should call out sick tomorrow. Stu, let's call out sick tomorrow. We'll find Samter's flight. We'll get the seats right behind him. We'll be like, who is this father that can't control his kid? I'm just trying to sit here and enjoy the flight, and this kid's this guy's kid won't shut the bleep up.
You know what? You guys are on the plane with us. You're babysitting during the flight. My wife and I are going to be drinking. You guys can be in charge of the baby.
Are you paying us? Because I don't babysit for free.
I'll get you like a Coca-Cola on the flight.
Ginger ale, then we can maybe.
There you go. Oh yeah, I learned that yesterday about you. You're all about the ginger ale.
Yeah, for some reason
I'm drinking a Macallan. You two are drinking ginger ales.
Yeah,
that's going on over there.
I'm not a soda guy, but for some reason, the last few months, I've been on this ginger ale kick.
How do you not have a scotch or a drink with your steak? You might be disappointed in me for some things. I was disappointed in you about that.
Okay, that's fair. I was weak last night. I didn't want to drink.
Number 2, when you're out with your buddies eating steak, order a drink.
Yeah, but I had to be like an NBA player. I needed some load management because the night before I was having some spicy margaritas. I can't do back-to-backs anymore.
That's your fault. We planned this weeks ago.
Oh, sorry. Other people take precedence over you. I hate to break that to you.
She better be cute.
All righty. What do we got here, Stu?
All right. Speaking of the NBA and load management, I'm going to read a take from a tweet.
Is this a message from the Swifties? Are they mad at me?
This is a tweet from your former producer, Ryan Hot Take Hickey, the other night.
Oh, you're going after Hickey. Okay.
LA continues to be a hashtag Clippers town.
Ooh.
So, listen. Okay, the Clippers might have the Lakers' number in recent regular season games.
But no one cares about that.
But nobody cares. They haven't won a championship. They have not gone to a title.
Mm-hmm.
They would, for LA to be a Clippers town, they would have to win 5 straight championships.
And
even then, it would still probably be a Lakers town. So all the losers out there that think it's a Clippers town, including Hot Take Hickey, kick rocks, like you said before.
But you know what? I'm disappointed in you. You let Hot Take.
I know it's a debate. I know.
Like,
I know. I did.
Everything he tweets out is stupid. It doesn't make sense, and it's always wrong. Like he's complaining today about Dan Campbell being a Coach of the Year finalist, and it's not Shane Steichen. Well, how about your dopey head coach puts the best player on the field in the biggest game of the season on the play where it's 4th down and your season's on the line? But that's what Hickey does. Like, it's funny. I saw him in the newsroom, and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm doing great, Hickey. How you been? Everything good? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes to, and I said to him, I got to ask you something. Last year, you lectured me on why Sean Payton instantly makes the Broncos a playoff team. But now he's already spewing this nonsense because he hates Harbaugh and he hates Michigan, and he'll tell you, oh, I like this hire for the Chargers, but down deep, it's rooted in hatred because he picked against Michigan every step of the way this year. He was wrong. And Michigan ended up winning the national championship. He's already spewing takes that the Chargers are going to suck this year. Like, so who cares what Hot Take Hickey says? Because
he must be sopped.
It's actually good when he picks against your team, because then in all likelihood, your team then is going to win. And also, since we're crapping on coworkers here, I have a PSA. When I have my wallet just sitting out to the left of me, I don't need the update anchor here, cough, cough, Rich Ackerman, every time my wallet's out, to take my wallet and look what's inside my wallet. Like, I'm hosting a show. This should be a safe space. The desk to the left of me has my wallet on top of it. Actor in the last update took it and goes, oh, you don't have a lot of money in there, Chief. Yeah, it's 2024. People in my generation, we don't carry cash. So sorry that I'm only carrying around $25 for crying out loud. I do everything debit and credit. But snooping around to my wallet, I don't like it. Don't be that guy. It's my personal items. Don't touch my personal items. All righty, fun show today. Big thanks to Stuart Kovacs, Moist Mike, each and every one of you. I really hope, actually, this is a genuine statement. I hope there are no problems flying tomorrow for Moist Mike. I really hope there aren't. Because I can't even imagine just internally what you would be feeling if your daughter's crying for 3 hours and everyone's like looking at you. I do not wish that upon anybody. So I wish you a safe and a very happy flight. Also like to thank Blake Corum for joining us today, Shawne Merriman as well, and each and every one of you for calling, listening, and tweeting. You could always get at me on social media at Zach Gelb, Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, ZACHGELB, and you could stream the show Monday through Friday, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. In addition to we thanking you on listening on one of our great CBS Sports Radio affiliates, of course, Sirius XM, channel 158, and that free Odyssey app. Football Friday tomorrow. We'll spin the wheel. We'll see who they stick us with. Stu and I with when Samter's out. But it's a big Football Friday, so we'll get you ready for the conference championship games in the AFC and NFC. All right, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Have a great night. Peace.